Hello and welcome, I'm Jadatura, and this is my review of Earth Defense Force 6, otherwise known as EDF 6. I previously did a preview of the game, and I was definitely hyped up for what the game was going to bring in that video. Let me just tell you, the game holds up. My first playthrough was done on hard mode, which was the highest difficulty mode you could start on as Inferno was still locked. There are something like 157 missions in total, and it took me around 66 hours to complete, though I did play through some missions multiple times to backtrack and catch friends up after going through a couple of missions as a two-man team when the rest weren't available. I will give you a spoiler warning, as the overall theme for the story does need to be addressed, as there will be some who do not enjoy what it entails. Now, these story details do not take too long to get into in the game, but they are important as it affects the overall gameplay. The game has you go through a Groundhog Day of sorts, or I suppose it's more closely related to the other time loop movie, Edge of Tomorrow. EDF 6 has you repeatedly go through the events of the game, but the enemy travels back in time, altering your timeline. You follow them back at a certain point, and this happens repeatedly. There are a few missions which are laid out in the same fashion, with minor differences such as the enemies you'll be facing, or the world appearing differently. The equipment your NPC allies use may also differ. They could bring tanks in one timeline, or mechs on truck beds in another. All depends on how things have been going for this timeline. Dialogue can also change in the same mission but different timeline. Someone could survive in one timeline but fall in another. I feel like this is one of the more interesting storylines in an EDF game, but if you played EDF 5, you may initially feel as though you've done this all already, at least at the start. EDF 6 really does sometimes feel like an EDF 5 greatest hits with some new additions, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. The humor that Earth Defense Force is known for remains intact, even if they do reuse some of the same jokes from EDF 5. You are repeating some of the timelines after all. The gameplay is the strongest part of an EDF game, though, in my opinion. I do wish they did some quality of life changes, however. Full disclosure, one of my friends I play with made a hotkey to increase pickup range for when we finish missions. This allowed me as a fencer to actually fight instead of picking up all the boxes in the map. The game was much more fun for me, as I was always the guy in previous games running around. It's still possible to collect every box while fighting, but no longer did we have to keep a single enemy alive for cleanup purposes at the end of a mission. We didn't fail many missions, but at least picking up boxes while playing does allow you to keep some of the loot that dropped, even if you fail. You couldn't use the hotkey if you was knocked out, so there was a risk of doing it that way, but don't ever plan for failure. Here is a small overview of the classes. If you're playing an air raider, there are not as many underground missions this time around, though they do still exist. Underground missions limit your equipment because some things will not fit down there. However, in the broken timelines where the aliens have run the Earth Defense Force thin, you don't have access to fuel, so anything that requires it is unusable. One of my friends played the air raider, and he seemed much more capable in this compared to previous EDFs when he was handicapped. He did still miss his toys in the missions where the big stuff was disallowed though. My other friend played Ranger, which is a much heavier hitting class than I imagine it to be. They have access to some vehicles like Air Raider does, but they also have some of the biggest rocket launchers in the game. Be very careful when playing this class. My friend has blown himself up, and his friends, like me, a few times playing this. They are much more mobile than Air Raider, but that's not saying much. It's quite easy to get swarmed as Air Raider or Ranger if they are outside of the vehicle, though, as they don't really have verticality otherwise. I do remember my friend wishing he had access to more equipment slots though. Wing Diver, none of my friends played, though I did try it out a few times when we were playing missions to catch up some players who missed on some of their missions. I can't really compare it to previous EDFs, as I never really played Wing Diver in those either. Unfortunately, my Wing Diver friend didn't pick this game up yet, as he's super busy with stuff right now. Wing Diver is fun, and it's also very mobile. It also has some very unique weapons. There's kind of a limit gauge you build up while playing that lets you unleash a big attack that changes depending on what you equipped in that slot. They're also the squishiest class to play though, but their mobility should keep them safe so long as you don't use up all your energy for the jetpacks. Energy is shared between flying and shooting, so there is a little bit of micromanaging there that other classes don't really need to deal with. Now, Fencer's the class I played, and it's my favorite. I just like the overall design of it. It's also the class that most changes depending on who's playing it. I play with 3 other players, one Air Raider, one Ranger, and then the one who picked up the game later. He's the one we backtracked to catch him up, though he wasn't too far behind, maybe like 10 missions or so. They also chose to play as Fencer. He was the Bloodstorm guy, and man, I still have PTSD from how loud those things are. He preferred the lock-on weapons and to stay away from the enemy, though he also had a mobility set for when an enemy did find him. Oh yeah, Fencers get 2 weapon sets. They can equip 2 weapons per set, or even the same 2 weapons per set, and you can swap between them like during the mission. Each weapon also has a special technique assigned to it. You usually either have a scope, and different weapons have different zoom values, a jump boost, which allows you to boost vertically, or a dash boost, which allows you to dash in a direction on the ground. There's also equipment slots that improve these aspects or make you tankier. They have access to a bunch of stuff. You can also employ techniques like dashing and then boosting to vastly improve your mobility. Fencer is also the most well armored out of the classes. I played a different kind of Fencer than my friend did, mostly opting for close range combat. I started with a spear and then eventually gravitated towards the combo of shotgun with jackhammer, which I knew was great from previous games. The jackhammer being a rapid fire punching attack, and the shotgun being, well, a shotgun. It's more for damage over time than big spike damage, but the good thing about it is it stuns enemies while you're firing at them, usually. When I needed long range heavy damage, I opted for a heavy mortar paired with a giant sniper rifle that physically moves you like 10 feet from where you're standing, just from the recoil when you fire it. There are also a few missions where I did put on a shield, but that was mostly for the dreaded red drones, which thankfully were much more rare in this game compared to EDF 5. Shields definitely vastly improve your survivability, but if you don't use it correctly, it just makes you a sitting duck. Often, I also played as a medic for my mobility declined air raider and ranger friend, as I could get to them quickly while remaining safe myself. That's not to say that they then also saved my butt a few times. Now let's get to the enemy variety. There are a ton of new enemy types in this game. If there's a request, I may make a video just showcasing all the different enemies. You have everything from EDF 5 included, and then you're introduced to like at least 5 new enemies with their own subspecies in this. As I said previously, though you go through playing the same missions over and over occasionally, they feel different enough with the introduction of new enemies as the aliens are attempting to defeat you by increasing their counterplay against you throughout the entire game. Overall, the game is just fun. Yeah, the graphics are not the best, performance is mostly alright. I did have a dip here and there, but it wasn't frequent. I played my air raider friend. The game mostly stayed at a stable 60 FPS, but there were a few missions where it dropped to like 40 while my air raider buddy was setting the world on fire. And there were a ton of enemies available to get blown up. I played the PC version with an RTX 2070 graphics card and an AMD Ryzen 5 2600 processor. I don't think a rating system is fair to games like this because most would hold the graphics or art style against it. But if you want to score, I'd say it's like a solid 7 out of 10 game, which is not bad. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed the game. It feels like playing through a B movie and I enjoyed every moment of it. Hope this review has been helpful. I know I ramble a lot and it was more of a this is what the game is than a review, though I really enjoyed the game and it was the first time I bought an EDF game on release. I was not disappointed. It's just great fun, especially with friends. Can't speak for playing solo though. If you like this video and would like to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe. Take care and have a good one.